The James Show Podcast.
And I'm not usually into court cases and whatnot. I'm not into court TV. That's Miss Parker's territory. She loves a good mystery.
I'm Miss Parker.
And I am interested in this one, though. We have the story here. I hope this happens. Melania Trump is now threatening to sue Hunter Biden, and it's all over this Epstein stuff. The lawsuit's huge, $1 billion. $1 billion? Okay. What's all this about? Well, it comes from an interview that Hunter Biden did earlier this summer, where he made the claim that Epstein, that Epstein, was the guy who introduced Trump and Melania to each other. Oh, well, that's a new twist on the story. Hadn't heard that before. So Melania Trump didn't like that storyline because after Hunter Biden said it, a bunch of news outlets passed that along as if it were true. And so we've seen a few news outlets take that story down or edit the story or put on a correction. But Hunter Biden hasn't. He still has the video up where he's saying that, and he didn't take it down. And when Melania's lawyers reached out to everyone, he was included, he didn't take it down. So now we have the threat of a lawsuit of $1 billion over this claim that Jeffrey Epstein introduced her to Donald Trump. The lawyers describe this as false and defamatory. I don't expect Hunter Biden to apologize for his comments, but at the very least, either prove them or take them down. The problem is you can't prove or disprove this. And the idea that Epstein introduced Melania to Trump, that goes against the story that they've told for years. Now, it could be that Jeffrey Epstein did introduce them, and now they're telling a different story because they don't want to be associated with this fella. But we have reason to believe that the same story that's been told before, everyone knew Jeffrey Epstein was a creep and he was a political third rail. So we've had, in a recent interview with the Daily Beast, one of the guys who was reporting the story, Wolf, claimed the First Lady was known to an associate of Epstein and Trump when she met her now husband. He had to go back and retract that. So when other people tried to build on this story, that all got retracted too. However, since this has happened, there's a YouTube show with a guy named Andrew Callaghan, and he asked Hunter if he's going to apologize to Melania. He said it's not going to happen. He's not taking the video down. He's not apologizing. He's not issuing a retraction or a correction. So we have a little bit of a stalemate here. Is something going to happen? I don't know. But the official story, like an example, you go to Harper's Bazaar in 2016. They did a profile on him when he was running for president the first time. And the story that was published there was they met each other in November of 1998 at a party that was hosted by the founder of a modeling agency. But there was no Epstein involvement in that part of the story. There was no necessity for Epstein to be in that story. This is just something I guess Hunter is inserting there. I don't know. Did he hear this from someone else? And now he just has confirmation bias and prefers for it to be true. So he can go around and tell a story that connects the Trumps and Epstein. So how is this going to end up? I don't know. But I love this story for a couple reasons. Number one, Hunter Biden's such a contemptible figure. And Hunter Biden is so bad for that whole brand that the more he's on TV, the more he's in magazines, the more he's on websites, the more he's in YouTube videos, the better for Team Red to the detriment of Team Blue. The other side of that coin is that Melania Trump is such a sympathetic figure here. Now, Melania Trump made her living being a model, being on the cover of magazines, being the centerfold, being in advertisements, being all over the place, being on billboards. But when she became First Lady the first time around, you remember this. It was the first time in your entire life nobody cared to interview the First Lady. It was the first time in your entire life the First Lady wasn't on a magazine cover. And I don't mean every month or every magazine. I mean at all. At all. This is the first lady, the first lady in your entire life that was on fewer magazine covers after she became First Lady. This is the first time the First Lady made her career being on magazine covers, and then all of a sudden was not worthy to be on magazine covers after she's the most famous woman on planet Earth, basically. Wasn't that weird? And so you saw the cognitive dissonance. I saw the cognitive dissonance. We all felt it. Wait, where's all the pro-women crowd? This was happening during the Me Too movement. You're supposed to believe all women. Women are supposed to be sympathetic figures. They're supposed to be held in high esteem. No. This one you ignore when you have what's easily the most beautiful first lady in the history of the United States, probably the history of the planet, and she doesn't make it on a magazine cover. Boy, that's a stretch, isn't it? These people. So, yeah, how much of a sympathetic figure can Melania Trump be made into before people on Team Blue actually admit it, before the media jumps in on this? You know, you would think this would be a bigger story. This is the wife of the current president in a legal battle over defamation, over a very nasty claim about Jeffrey Epstein from the son of the previous president. Please let this story blow up. Please let this be part of the national conversation. Please let MSNBC report on this for 5 seconds. Let CNN report on it for 5 seconds. I hope this goes somewhere. I'm really looking forward to it if it does. If not, I'm just going to keep track of this and I'll pass you along the updates that the rest of the media should be talking about. But I imagine at some point, Hunter Biden's going to either bend the knee or this lawsuit's going to be thrown out because it's so hard to prove defamation. But my God, I wish this would get more attention in the media. So Donald Trump has announced a crackdown on D.C. and the whole point, or at least the point that's being told to the public is it's a dangerous city and he wants to do something about crime. Well, the best argument that they've been able to muster so far against this is twofold. Number one, boy, that sure is authoritarian. Okay. Number two, yeah, but crime is down. That doesn't mean it's not too high. Okay. Okay, so now this has turned into something else. So 48 hours into this storyline here, we get that sort of second level of the discussion, because the discussion starts out, well, is this necessary? Is this the right approach? Will it work? Does he have the constitutional authority to do it? But now the discussion is, look at how other people have reacted to this. And aren't we learning a lot about people by how they react to situations, especially when it's different than what you expected? So some of them aren't falling for it. Let me play the ones that aren't falling for it first. This is good stuff. Chris Matthews. He was on Morning Joe talking to Mika Brzezinski, whatever it is. And he was saying, do not fall for this trap. Do not fall for the trap of arguing against law and order, of arguing against fighting crime, of arguing against cleaning up the streets, arguing against making the neighborhood safer, especially in these majority-minority neighborhoods. God forbid we make those a safer place to be, a better place to be. Do not fall for that trap. So Chris Matthews gets it.
I think this is a strength move against the big cities who are in a difficult situation on crime. And the murder rate, you can't keep saying violent crime is down, but the murder rate's up. To the average person, the murder rate's about life and death. You don't brag about a rising murder rate. And the Democrats are, I agree with you, Mika, they're falling into the trap of defending what's indefensible.
It's a trap.
Yes, there it is. That's fantastic. Yes. I don't think he intends it to be a trap. I don't think he's doing this just to catch you off guard and make you say things that can be used in very strategic sound bites against you. I think you are just making this a trap, and it's just kind of convenient for Trump that you're now arguing against law and order. And not all the arguments are going this way. Some people are pointing out that, he has the ability to do this in D.C., but when he talks about sending the National Guards into some of these other cities, that's moving into a constitutional gray area. Cool. Great discussion. Legit criticism. But that's not where everyone's stopping. Some people are saying, well, this is just out of control. This is not good for the community. What he's doing here is wrong. Listen, not everything this dude does is wrong. And if you're going to try and make that case, you're going to have a hard time convincing the American people that you're on the right side. And so now it's not just the discussion about the actual occupation itself. The reaction to this, so fantastic. So let me show you a little bit about what I'm talking about. The people who are falling into the trap. This lady, Simone, the bald lady that's on MSNBC sometimes. Do you know what I'm talking about? She just started that show with the former RNC guy, Michael Hill. So here she is on MSNBC, just falling into the trap as hard as anyone possibly can.
Are the real policies, the wraparound services to address what is happening with the juvenile justice system in Washington, D.C.? Is the National Guard and the military going to address that? I don't think so. So until we start talking about that, we are really adding to the fear mongering, in my opinion, and amping up the rhetoric when we should be tamping it down, because Donald Trump is giving us rhetoric and not the reality.
You don't think more police make streets safer?
No, Joe. I'm a black woman in America.
No.
I do not always think that more police make streets safer. When you walk down the streets of Georgetown, you don't see a police officer on every corner, but you don't feel unsafe. So what is it about talking about places like Southeast D.C., right? Ward 8, if you will, that people say, well, we need more officers to make us safe. I think we have to rethink what safety means in America.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, more cops don't make you safer. Sure. Didn't you all already lose that argument with the defund the police movement? Hasn't that already been proven to be a disaster when it's actually implemented in the real world and not your theoretical classrooms and academia? Yeah, as a black woman in America, police don't make people more safe. Yeah, like police are running around just thumping black women in the head with their baton. Like police are the bad guys. Love it. All right, Greg Gutfeld put a pretty little bow on this discussion because I think he sees some of what you see too.
And that is the reason why they're stuck with narratives. So they use the authoritarian narrative, which is a great one because you can fit anything into it. It's just like the racist filter. So it's like increasing law enforcement, authoritarian, arresting juveniles, authoritarian, curfews, authoritarian. They're all authoritarian. They could all be racist but none of them are, but they can look like it. But Trump, whether it's border or crime or trans invading sports, he takes the lane of common sense. So they're stuck with these narratives because they can't. What alternative do you have to common sense? There is none. You can't get over this. What happens when you remove the narrative of authoritarianism? If you took that out and just watched what was happening, it was just crime fighting. That's all it is. It's an apolitical act that we all agree with, fighting crime. It's common sense. They know that it works. The fear is that it will work. Mm-hmm. And if it works, God help the left, because success is a threat to the preservation of their failures.
And my next guest on the James Show, Heather Buchta. Now, I wanted to talk to you because you're a successful author in a real specific genre. And before we talk about your book, let's talk about you. First off, you're in the YA genre. Explain that to people who are hearing this for the first time. What is a YA book?
No problem. YA stands for young adult. And so it's basically teen fiction. I write kind of in the older teen fiction category, 14 to 18-year-olds. So
why this category? Not children's books, not adult books. Why young adult as your target audience?
That's a great question. For me, it's because everything is like a giant deal when you're that age. And I love how much everyone at that age is just exploring and trying new things out and, changing their opinion about stuff week to week. And everything's important. And I love that chase after life attitude that you have during that age.
What got you started in writing for this genre? Did you always write for young adults, or did something push you into this?
Well, I worked as a youth pastor for a while, and then I moved on to teaching high school, and I just always loved that age category, and I kind of knew it the best, I think, voice-wise. So I thought, if I'm going to write, which I love, might as well write what I know and what I'm surrounded by. So that's kind of how I went into YA.
So how'd you get started? What was your first book, or what was your first successful book?
Oh, so it's been a long grind. I've written a ton of books and had an agent for a while before something finally sold. My first book that debuted was Beyond the Break, which actually has a Christian protagonist, which was kind of different for the traditional publishing market. They wanted something that really reached a niche that wasn't being met.
No, and, God forbid we make Christians look good.
Yeah, I know, right? And so I gave them 5 chapters to Penguin Random House, and they actually bought it off 5 chapters, which was unheard of. And I was so over the moon, but I had to write really fast after that because they wanted a full draft in a couple, 3 months, I think. So, and it's done really well, and it continues to sell really well. And I think it just proves that, gosh, there are kids out there that really enjoy seeing themselves and just as normal teenagers, going through life and trying to figure stuff out while still honoring God. So that was my first novel.
Okay, so let's talk about the books that people might already know. You have a new book coming out, All for the Game. I guess it's been out for a month or so now. But talk about the other books that people might associate with you and say, oh, okay, I know her, so she has a new book. I need to go get it.
There's Beyond the Break. Chasing After Night was my sophomore novel. That is also teen romance. It's a lot of fun. And my third book, we took a left turn, and my agent had been telling me, you've been wanting to write this thriller. You love football. Like, let's write a thriller. So we pitched them this thriller idea, and they loved it. So that's the newest one. And that's the one I think people are hearing about because that one made the USA Today bestseller list.
Nice. Okay. We're talking with Heather Buchta. She's the author of her new book, All for the Game. Now, are these in a series? Are they connected? Do you have some recurring characters?
No, these are all three are standalone novels, very different, all different characters. This novel has three POVs in third person, which basically means you follow the story through three different characters. POVs,
point of view, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to keep up here. And this one kind of looks like it has a football theme to it.
It does. It has small town Texas football, which is so much fun. I wanted to write like a Friday Night Lights meets Pretty Little Liars meets The Firm for like a 90s reference throwback. And so I just set out to do that after kind of being inspired by a moment when I was visiting Texas.
So what made you write this book? Is this based on some of the people that you knew growing up, or where do you get these characters from?
No, unless they're listening. Absolutely not. No, they're all made up. I went to a bar in Texas while I was waiting for a friend, and it was wild. Texas Longhorns were playing the Oklahoma Sooners, and I knew a little about this rivalry, but I wanted to hear from you guys. So they were selling dollar long necks, and I bought $20 worth. I handed it to the people in line, and I was like, tell me about this football rivalry. And they were so excited. And then I walked in, sat down at the bar, and it was insane inside. And I just looked around and took it all in. And I looked at the guy next to me at the bar who was wearing a cowboy hat. And I said, this is crazy. And without skipping a beat, he like tipped his beer at me, and he was like, nah, darling, this is Texas.
No, now, Heather Buchta, have you actually gone to a high school football game in Texas?
I have, and I loved it. And I was blown away by not just the football, but how talented and athletic the cheerleaders were and the dance team. And it's just a whole athleticism and this beautiful Friday night culture that is fun. It's what people do, and it's where they kind of catch up on their week. And what the beauty of that, I thought, gosh, but if you write a thriller, you've got to make this go sideways. So what happens when the really cool culture turns sideways, when people want to protect it a little too much?
All right, so what do we have here? Is this a murder mystery novel?
Sort of. It's basically, it's high stakes football, small town drama. There's a lot of twists, and the small pitch is a scandal. When a scandal threatens to unravel East Pages High's championship football program, one player, Finn Gehringer, his cousin, Britt, and his girlfriend, Meg, must risk everything to protect the team, their futures, and the truth. So loyalty and betrayal collide under the Friday Night Lights, and that's like the basic pitch that we went with. So you're coming to town this weekend. You're going to be at Barnes & Noble. Where can we find you there? So I will be there from 12 to 4. We're going to kick probably around 12:15 with a Q&A for about an hour, so people have time to grab their book and find a seat. I will be interviewed by Preston, the manager there, and then afterwards it'll give time for the audience to ask some questions about anything, book writing, about the writing process, about this book in particular, and then after that I'll be signing, and I'll just stick around until 4 in case people can't make the noon event but still want to sit and chat. I'd love to. And that's what we're doing there. All right. This is the Garland Barnes & Noble. There's like 11 of them around here. The Garland Barnes & Noble this Saturday, August 16th. This is the author she had Beyond the Break and Chasing After Night, and her new book, All for the Game. If you want your kids to get interested in reading, if they're not already familiar with her work, find a good book. Get them started. Let it catch on. Maybe you can do it starting this Saturday, August 16th. Heather Buchta, what else can we expect at your event? Do we need to bring anything or? No, just bring yourself. Bring an excited attitude to talk books. And also I will say that I wanted to write a book that would transfer well to adult readers who wouldn't roll their eyes reading a teen book. And I think I matched both sides of the coin pretty well, where teens can enjoy and adults can also get a good thriller out of it.
All right. Well, I see your book over here on barnesandnoble.com. Where else can we find your work online, Heather Buchta?
Anywhere. I always encourage people to buy from independent bookstores to keep that going. But if you can't, Amazon, you can buy at Barnes & Noble, you can buy at Target.com, anywhere where books are sold.
All right, Heather Buchta, thank you very much for being on the James Show, and good luck with your new book, and good luck with your appearance in Garland on Saturday.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I want you to think back to when we were growing up. If you're about my age, you remember people saying, hey, man, it's the 80s, or I'm an 80s guy, or I'm an 80s kind of gal, or it's the 90s, I'm a 90s guy. Hey, it takes all kinds. It's the 90s. I didn't see that coming. Well, it is the 90s. If you're a little older than me, I imagine people said this about the 70s, too. I just wasn't coherent. But we stopped saying that in the year 2000. Now, did we stop saying that because, hey, man, it's the aughts or it's the zeros, or we didn't have a cool little saying for it? And, the teens, the tens, what do we say there? Well, we don't have that excuse anymore, and we're halfway through the decade, and we're not running around saying, hey, man, it's the 20s. You know what that's like? Yeah, well, it is the 20s. Well, I had this date, went totally weird, totally caught me off guard. Hey, relax, it's the 20s. Why don't we say that? And if you're like Garrett's age or something, just to let you know, this is how much we used to talk about, hey, man, it's the 90s. This is a montage, and these aren't obscure pop culture references. This is like the big movies and TV shows and interviews and musicians and actors, politicians, everyone just said, hey, man, it's the 90s.
90s are going to make the 60s look like the 50s.
Honey, it's the 90s, remember? Microchips, microwaves, faxes, earphones.
Wake up and smell the 90s.
For God's sake, Chucky, drag yourself into the 90s.
Uncle Phil, can you take a stroll into the 90s, please? Come on, Uncle Phil, this is the 90s, man.
Man, it's the 90s. It's hammer time. Come on.
Oh, come on, Brenda. It's the 90s, for God's sakes.
This is the 90s, the 1990s in point of fact.
Ma, it's the 90s. You can call it what it is. Our monthly visitor.
I think I'm going to like the 90s.
Just because we're getting older, it doesn't mean that we're old. This is the 90s.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. It's the 1990s, all right? In this day and age, a man has to have choices.
The 90s is no time to play hero.
I can be anything I want to be. It's the 90s.
This is the 90s, Dan. Witches are women.
Our bride is the 90s Cinderella. She doesn't just dance with her Prince Charming. She talks deals on her cellular phone. She throws the wicked stepsisters into the pool.
I'm a woman of the 90s, and you're not much of a lady.
I really can't stand it, those people who blame their worst traits on everyone but themselves. It's so 90s.
You know, kissing is so 1990s.
Look at that. We used to say it like it was in everything. This is so 90s. Those 90s. There's a weird cultural identity, though, that did kind of stop after the 90s. And maybe it's not just because the number wasn't something that was easy to translate, the aughts, the teens, whatever. But do you notice how, like, if someone is dressed in the style of the 70s, you recognize it. The 60s, the 50s, you recognize it. 80s, you can recognize it. 90s, you can recognize it. After the 90s, can you tell what year it is based on someone's clothes? If you see the first episode of The Office, it looks, which came out, like 2004, 2005, somewhere around there. If you look at it now, they look like they're contemporary. The only way you can really tell that the show's from the mid-aughts is the two things: the size of their monitor. They still had the giant refrigerator-sized monitor, and the cell phones. They didn't have smartphones yet. Other than that, we still look the same. What's going on with that? If you had a 2000s party, what would you wear? A Ed Hardy shirt? I mean, what is the style that defines the aughts or the teens? Or you can't say, well, we're too close to it. That was only a few years ago and we hadn't really delineated a new cultural style since then. Bro, that's 20 years ago. When we were in the middle of the 90s, if this was 1995 and someone said, compared to what fashion was like 20 years ago, you could totally tell the difference. You could totally tell, and you would have to skip over the 80s to get there. Oh, it not only was it different, it had changed, completely turned over twice. And it seemed to be on almost a decade scale. So you can tell 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. You can tell with the clothes that people were wearing, with the hairstyles that they had, with the way houses were built. Can you tell the difference between a house that's built in 2025 and a house that's built in 2005? What happened? We stopped changing. Why? And one scary answer for that is, well, we've reached our peak. If you're going up, things are changing. If you're going down, things are changing. But if you've plateaued off, you're at the top. Now we have to make the decision. Are we going to go back to being like we were? Or are we going to continue this cycle and start the decline? I don't have the answer for that one. All right, stick around. Coming up next, Mark Levin. And I want to remind you, tomorrow is going to be a very special edition of programming on WBAP because we're covering what could be historic summit between Russia and the United States in Alaska. So we're going to be your home for that. And if it's not going to be history, if it's going to be a walkaway, if it's going to be a footnote, if it's just going to be a stepping stone to a real deal, we'll let you know that too. But come back. Tomorrow's a special day above and beyond the normal Friday program. So come on back. In the meantime, if you need more James Show action, go check out the podcast wherever you're already listening to podcasts or WBAP.com and the WBAP app. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.